podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
I just want to say, this podcast is starting in a very different mood than the last one ended.
Yes.
Multiple people asked me if I was okay, like in real life, because of the last podcast. Just want to reassure everyone I was at all points fine in real life. But now also couldn't be happier, Ed, than to spend the next hour or so talking to you about the beautiful, magnificent sport of association football.
Well, yeah, we were all a little worried about you. You were like, football's rubbish, life's rubbish, what's the point?
I never said life's rubbish.
Well, pretty much. Football is life, isn't it? You know. And then...
a good Ted Lasso quote.
Yeah, that's right. Football is life. Yes, you know, and then today we're going to get a bit more Patrice Evra from you, I think.
Yeah. The only thing wrong with this game was that José Mourinho managed to prevent Ole Gunnar Solskjaer from patting him on the head at the end of the game with some alpha tactics.
Yeah.
But who cares?
Everyone is going to get an hour of backers content, basically, where normally we talk for a substantial amount of time about how Jose Mourinho is sucking the colour out of life. But not today, although, you know, for 40 minutes or so, I was a bit concerned. But just a fantastic performance from United in the second half. And just overall, really, you know, very... very cautious for 20 or so minutes and almost like sort of encouraged Tottenham to have a go and then just took over and just completely dominant. Some really fantastic performances. We'll go through the details, of course, but just Henderson in goal, really commanding. I like him a lot. I think it's worth, even if he makes some mistakes, which he didn't today, worth persisting. Doesn't mean we've got a £350,000 a week problem on the bench. But we'll come to that later. Pogba just absolutely immense in midfield, just coming off the left side of midfield. I mean, it felt like United were a little bit lopsided tactically, but just having him in that side, somewhere where he can really influence the game, and he really was. Shaw, what has happened to Luke Shaw? He's become Roberto Carlos. He's absolutely everywhere. It's one time he plucked the ball out of the air with just a Berbatov touch. I was like, where did that come from? Then he pinged that flat cross to Fred, I think.
It might have been Wan-Bissaka,
yeah. And defending, mostly really excellent. He was excellent. And then Cavani, you know, there's periods where he's not in the game, but he's his movement was pretty good, and the goal was just delicious. Chef's kiss.
Movement's elite. His movement is elite. It's absolutely elite. His movement for the goal that was disallowed was pure brilliance.
Oh yeah,
his movement for the Fred goal is pure brilliance. His movement for his own goal is pure brilliance.
Yes, I mean he plays between the lines of the box, which he, you know, when he was younger he was more dynamic. You know, there he's making the runs that are 5-10 yards, and are great in those situations. He doesn't run the channels at all, but he had players around him to do that. You know, and United do have to, and I think that's might have been part of the reason why Pogba's in the side. I mean, he wants to get Pogba in the side and he wants to get McFred in the side. But also Pogba is going to run up that left channel and Marcus, you know, run everywhere, basically, in order to, you know, make the runners around Cavani. Anyway, that's sort of my summary. I thought United were really awesome today, and it's joyous to put one over Jose, especially after what happened earlier in the season.
You know, it just felt so bad when our goal was disallowed and then they scored.
Oh, really? I was so sick.
Yeah. The first 25 minutes of the game, we were awful. And it looked like we were set up to counter-attack with none of our fast players apart from a quarter-fit Marcus Rashford on the pitch, basically. So it just wasn't working. And the McFred double pivot was causing the problems that the McFred double pivot causes, which is in transition, the ball gets wasted all the time. Well, and Bruno, by the way, like the two of them and Bruno, at least you could say Bruno's wasting the ball trying stuff rather than just, kicking it out of play instead of making a 10-yard pass. But it was immensely frustrating for those first 25 minutes. And really, the Pogba Cavani combination was the first moment of real quality in the game. I mean, McTominay did very well to find Pogba. We don't really have to legislate this in any detail. I guess everyone probably feels about the same. McTominay felt contact from Son, and then it really looks like he's flicked his arm in his face in the slow motion replay. But I think all that's happened is Son sort of half stumbles after he reaches to grab him. And so McTominay's got more space than he thinks he has. So when he reaches his arm out to feel where Son is, Son not being there causes a reflex action where his hand reaches out like when you're, trying to navigate the room in the middle of the night when you wake up, and something isn't quite where you think it is, and your arm then just reaches out a little bit further. It felt to me that that's what happened. I don't know if that's a foul because I don't know the laws of the game. Is it a clear and obvious error? Clearly not, right? I don't see how it is. But Son and slow motion combine to really make it look like it was.
Yeah, no, I think, one, it's a horrendous dive. There's no way that, tickle on your face causes you to fall on the floor, hold your face, roll around, and do it for the full 3 minutes of the VAR check. It's just sickening because it's cheating. It's cheating absolutely everyone, and he's a brilliant player. And why? He got what he wanted. That's why. And I agree with the rest of your assessment. I think McTominay's just trying to hand off to the player, which I think is fine. It's just not supposed to go above the neckline. And so, maybe it's a foul. The first foul, of course, is Son's because he's grabbed him around the shoulder. The ref gives the free kick to Tottenham, so he's got that all wrong. I know that's a minor detail, but I think it just goes to the fact that he's got it all wrong. And you're right. In real time, that's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. And slow motion, it looks like he stuck a hand in his face. So VAR has combined to chalk off a brilliant goal. In the end, it was really sickening for a few minutes, especially when the 1-2 does Lindelof up like a bow on a present for your birthday on Monday. Lindelof's body position is horrible. Second week in a row, it's just horrible. But it's a simple 1-2, and then Son finishes, and that makes it's pretty sickening, given what had just happened previously.
Yeah, Tuesday. Just in case everyone sends me presents on.
It's my son's birthday on Monday. Yours.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I'm just watching as you were talking. I've got the telly on, and Mourinho's being interviewed, and I've got the subtitles on. And his response to the question of should that goal have been chalked off was initially, well, I think probably Paul Pogba should have been sent off for elbowing Aurier, which he did. He did elbow. He caught him with his elbow. I don't think there was any intent on it. But then he kind of talked at length about how he doesn't know what the rules are anymore, which is fair enough when he's talking about a goal that went, a decision that went for his side rather than one that went against him. We saw in the Liverpool game yesterday one of those pixel VAR offside decisions. Yep. It's frustrating, and the Fred goal. Even though Edinson Cavani is actually a long way onside, one of their players is pushing up. He's a full man onside. But I didn't jump up out my seat because it looked to me like at the crossover, I couldn't tell where it was. Yeah. And, so you end up jumping out of your seat on the first replay.
I know, it's horrible. It's just awful. This is a tangent, and I did have someone comment on Twitter that most of our show is tangents. Some of it's narrative.
Was that a criticism?
No, I don't know. I don't think it's a criticism. It's just, it's what we do. We go from football to politics to world events, and then sometimes some football. But anyway, I've completely lost the run of my myself.
Forgot your tangent.
Forgot my tangent.
So what happened was you went on a tangent, and then it was like, right, now we need to do a tangent about tangents, and now you're lost.
Completely. So let's carry on with the show, and it will come back to me at some point.
the performance in the first half was immensely frustrating. And Lindelof, like I play a lot of a game called Rocket League, which I'm sure plenty of people listening will be familiar with. And sometimes you just go for the ball and the ball isn't there and it looks so bad. And Lindelof had a real proper like Rocket League swing at that and just totally missed the ball. And it looks absolutely awful on the slow motion replay. It looked kind of bad in real time. I'm always wary of like jumping in and absolutely hammering our central defenders because I'm so ready to do it at the drop of a hat that I feel like, yeah, like, so I'm like, should I maybe just give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt? Because it looked horrible to me. And
I think it's all about, I mean, look, if you just take it as, well, it's a really smart one too, and, you know, what could he do about that? You could give him the benefit of the doubt, but I think it's all about his positioning. It's all about it. He's just not balanced right, and I'm sure a better defender is in the way of that one. You know, Rio Ferdinand, he got his left foot on it, driven into midfield, and set United up on an attack. I mean, it's right. So it's a problem area, but you know, so is us talking about it for this podcast because it's really boring. So maybe we shouldn't do that. But look. You know, to get over the disappointment of that goal being chalked off, you know, rightly or wrongly, and then conceding shortly afterwards, to come back so strongly, you've got to say, you know, Mourinho said same coach, different players. Well, United, different coach, same players, getting
Absolutely.
a much stronger response. And for all the Mourinho stands out there, I don't know how many there are. There aren't many Spurs fans who are Mourinho stands, judging by Twitter. There's a couple in the United ranks. I mean, you know, for all Ollie's faults, he has got this team deeply mentally strong in certain situations. 28 points from losing positions. It's miles better than anyone. And you could say, well, United shouldn't go behind, and there's some defensive issues behind that. And and United do start some games quite cautiously. But 26 games on the road unbeaten in the Premier League, 28 points from losing positions. You've got to say there's something about the, you know, mental strength of this team to not wilt as they have done in previous years that Ollie's got right.
No, that you know, we were saying before we started recording, they are such a strange team because, you know, that first 25 minutes was really poor and they looked overawed by the situation and tired, and tactically, you know, like I said about the counterattacks, that wasn't working, but also Pogba was dragged right in field, leaving Shaw exposed to an overlap. Neville was critical of Shaw coming out to, I think, Aurier to try and block the passing lane, and thought he should have gone with Moura. And he might be right, but it looked to me like no one was sure. It was Shaw on his own against two players, so he's got a difficult decision to make there, and no one was covering the shape. And Moura put in a real good cross, and actually Lindelof cleared the ball with a really good header in that particular moment. But it was just an example of neither going forward nor defensively did it look particularly good for us. And we did come alive before they scored for once, because we scored first, And I think that the point you're making is extremely well founded, and really in this case it's a double whammy, isn't it? Because United feel they've got a perfectly good goal disallowed, and that they now are playing well and are on top of the game, and they get hit by the sucker punch going in 1-0 at half time, and it was just a different team that came out in the second half. And I thought particularly although Rashford was involved in the first goal and did well in the little interplay around the outside of the box, I thought actually we looked at our absolute best in that game once it was Greenwood on the pitch rather than Rashford.
Rashford did some really good things in this game, but he was hobbling before he came off. He's so obviously not fit. I mean, he should be absolutely nowhere near the squad on Thursday. Nowhere near. I mean, United 2-0 up against an average team. It's going to be okay. I know there's some suspensions, but it would be absolutely criminal if him and Bruno, by the way, who's beginning to look quite burnt out because his performances since Christmas are, you know, they're quite a bit below what they were before that. Yeah. You know, just think of the, what is it, potentially 12 games left this season. Manage that. Don't play him on Thursday. You know, whatever the whatever the decisions you have to make there, because he's suffering. He's suffering. He's got this long-term shoulder thing and this long-term ankle thing.
I bet you they'll both start. I bet you they'll both start that game. I'll be maybe they'll get 45 minutes each. He'll do that. But, last Thursday was kind of, we haven't talked about that at all, but last Thursday was a pretty good example of why he over-relies on them so much, because Rashford, who really couldn't walk in that game, scored an absolutely amazing goal with just an exquisite first touch and then the right-footed finish. And Bruno put away the penalty, earned the penalty and then put it away. So,
look, they are both clutch players, aren't they? Rashford's got more than 20 goals this season, second season in a row. I mean, I think the consensus would be he's not had as good a season this season as he has last time, and I think a lot of that's down to fitness. He's clearly.
I think all of it is.
Yeah, not quite as sharp as he could. So do with time off in the summer, and of course it's the Euros, so he probably won't. I mean, he could do with having a minor hamstring tweak about a week before that, couldn't he? And I'm sure he desperately wants to play. Of course he does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Of course he does. But for the good of him, United, in his career, he could, because otherwise he's not going to get time off until next summer, and he's got the World Cup, and so it's going to be an massively compressed season next season as well, because they're sticking 4 weeks of the World Cup and 2 weeks either side of it into the season with almost no change in the parameters of the season,
Yeah.
It's bonkers. So, anyway, another tangent there. Tangents on tangents.
To get back to the game, once again, Spurs went ahead and then just absolutely lost the run of themselves. Let's talk about United's goals one at a time. So the Fred goal, a really weird sentence. I'm sure a very solid majority of the United supporting contingent that were watching that game would much rather Fred had not been on the pitch by the time he had the opportunity to score a goal. But he does brilliantly in this goal. So he finds Rashford, who gets the ball back to him. Fred with a lovely through ball to Cavani, whose movement is absolutely exquisite. But just the angle on it, the way he's got to open up his left foot, I think he might have played it on to Cavani. It's perfect. And then and he does well to follow the run in. Once Cavani
surprising
shoots
what got into him. It's not Fred,
exactly.
Is it? Following up a shot.
No.
He did very well to almost miss that one, didn't he? Shanked it into the top of the net. It would be very Fred-like to whack that against the bar or something like that. But no, look, you're right. It's just he does some really good stuff, and then he just gives a 5-yard pass away for absolutely no reason. He's a really frustrating player because there's something good in there, but the whole package is not great. I mean, I'm sure it's been said before, but if you could combine him and McTominay, you'd still have a player who'd give the ball away all the time, but but it would be a good package. I think it's actually it's the problem with both of them really. McTominay, you want to see him pass the ball progressively more. Fred, you want to see him pass the ball progressively less because he always gives it away when he tries to pass it forward.
That goal was just exquisitely well worked. It was extremely exciting. And United felt so on top at that game that I did start to properly dare to dream. And the thing that I was really pleased to see was that Solskjaer gave, this is, I'm sure, to do with managing Rashford rather than being proactive about changing the game, because if Rashford was fit, this would not have happened. But Mason Greenwood having 20 or 26 with the terrifying amount of injury time that was added on to the end of that game. But Rashford, Greenwood having 26 minutes made so much difference compared to him having 10 or even 15 minutes in that game. So he just made such a huge impact. The second goal has got to be, that is easily right near the top of my favourite United goals this season. Whether it's actually goal of the season or not, I don't know. But the ball from Greenwood to Cavani is so lush. And that header, making that header unsavable from Cavani, that was elite centre-forward play.
Best diving header since Keith Houchin in the 1987 FA Cup final against Spurs. By the way, I love a diving header. It's just aesthetically so pleasing. But, everything. The Meg from Bruno around the corner, the pass from Mason on his left foot, the movement and control on the header while flinging himself. I mean, 33 years old, earns an absolute packet. He'll never have to work again, Cavani, and he still desperately wants it. I mean, he was fist pumping at the end of that game.
Yeah.
You know, he loves it. I mean, it looks like he's not going to stay. And his impact has been mixed, of course, this season. It seems 50-50. I don't know. It's talk in the papers, but yeah, we'll see. Because it's not a one-way contract extension. It's a two-way, which is unusual for United, but I guess part of the agreement.
Talked about that in depth last week.
Yeah. Anyway, just magnificent, and loved it, and just such a shame that leapt out of my seat, punched the air, and then sat down and thought, oh fuck, let's check VAR for the next 16 hours before they decide which side of 3 foot line he was on.
But it was completely fine. Like, it's nice when you see that it's a weird 2021 season thing where it's like the first replay is sometimes so exciting.
I remember my tangent from earlier. I wanted to talk about automated VAR for offsides, which they are doing with camera tracking. I mean, much, much closer to the sort of Hawkeye level instant stuff that happens in other sports. So, Arsene Wenger, head of FIFA's technical committee, is looking at this now. They're talking about bringing it in for the 22 World Cup, and they're testing it in some leagues at the moment. So, that would stop that thing, because it'd be instant, like goal line technology. We wouldn't have to not celebrate. It's going to be offside, not offside in a microsecond.
Yeah, if they do that, I would really like them to change the law as well to build in. If they do that and it works, I would like them to change the law to build in some more margin for error on the to favour the attacker. And I know that
Wenger wants daylight, which has never been a offside ruled ever, although people seem to think it has been. But that would give a massive advantage to attackers, especially quick ones. Massive advantage.
I mean, that would change the game, right? You'd change the game fairly considerably if that would, like tactics and stuff. Mourinho might become relevant again.
I'm not actually sure it'd be good. I mean, the instinct would be that, this is a great advantage to attackers, therefore we're going to get more goals. I think a lot of teams will react to that by dropping another 10 yards deeper. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I was saying. Mourinho would become relevant again, right?
Exactly.
Because he sure isn't right now.
Yeah, love to see it, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Then there was the most terrifying moment of all of our lives? I want to say all of our lives, because I assume everyone else is the same level of emotionally invested in this specific result as I was. The ball is pinging about everywhere. It gets flung in, but Edinson Cavani's beautiful head, which has just done such magnificent work in their box, does some phenomenal work in ours and flicks the ball onto the point where the crossbar and the post meet. I mean, I know it wasn't actually there, but it might as well have been. I mean, this was inches away from utter disaster, but saved by the wondrous man that is Edinson Cavani.
Yeah, I mean, at some point in all of that, I mean, it was actually really the only time that United were desperately panicked defensively in those kind of situations. So I think for the most part, Hendo controlled that really well. I mean, he's so vocal and he's so willing to come for those balls. And, he dropped one last week, got away with it. But he was completely clean on everything in the air today. And he just manages those situations in a way that is so much better than David De Gea. I mean, we'll see with Henderson how elite he can be. I don't know. He made one save with his foot from Son, which was really good. Two. I was just thinking the one that was
from Kane.
Yeah, there was the one from Son was the very David De Gea-like one with his foot.
But the Kane one was too at the near post.
Right,
He covered the near post really, and it was just, and in fact, it was kind of De Gea a couple of years ago because he covered the near post brilliantly and didn't have to put his foot out too far. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say let's have the Henderson conversation. So last week you said surely Solskjaer isn't going to make De Gea play in the Europa League. That would be a real kind of statement, but that's exactly what he did. And we wondered whether that would mean that would be a warm-up game for him getting back in the side for the Premier League. But it's pretty clear right now that MUFC, the number one goalkeeper is Dean Henderson and the number two is David De Gea.
Yeah, and do you know what? Even if Henderson makes a mistake the next time he plays, I mean, presuming De Gea plays on Thursday, so whoever we have next weekend, if I've completely forgotten.
Yeah, I haven't even looked it up actually because this is my season. This game.
Happy birthday, Paul. Jose is giving you the best present of all. Anyway, Henderson, like, whatever happens, if he makes a mistake, it's important that Solskjaer doesn't drop him. He's got to give him, he's had a good run of games. Just give him this season, and then we'll sort everything out in the summer. But chopping and changing now wouldn't do him any good at all. And it would be back to the kind of Tim Howard, Roy Carroll situation. I think we've got two upgrades on that right now. It's not a bad situation for United to be in because, we have basically got two goalkeepers of very high quality. One, we don't know how high his ceiling is. And the other, well, his ceiling was as good as it ever got. But it's some way below that right now. So, it will be an interesting decision for the director of football negotiations to see exactly how much they have to pay Inter to take De Gea off our hands this summer.
So I think it's really unlikely that this gets chopped and changed. I feel like the one thing we can say about Solskjaer is he's been pretty ruthless. And this is an act of fairly extreme ruthlessness because of the money side of it. There was a lot of paper talk this week that De Gea is leaving United this summer. Like you say, that's gonna cost someone something, probably us.
For sure, it's no fee and pay part of his wages. That's the only deal.
Yeah, exactly. But for now, the one thing that I just love about Henderson is how quickly he throws the ball out. We've really missed that. And it's such, we're old Man United fans. So guess what? We like having a goalkeeper that throws the ball out quickly to start counterattacks. Someone like a fairly young Man United fan that I know said to me, "Oh yeah, Van der Sar used to do that." And I had to stifle laughter. It's like, well, yeah, he did. He's not exactly the prototype of it, but yeah, so there was just a little one today and it was so quick thinking. And yeah, it was great.
It was okay. So, like, where have we got? We've gone through two of United's goals, and then we come to the third, the cherry on the icing on the cake for Paul's birthday
on the birthday cake.
Yeah, that's right, with the sparkler in top, and
absolutely.
This was just pure Mason, wasn't it? This was,
guy.
You've got to be terrified as a central defender because what way are you going to go? He can hit it early with power on either foot. He goes on the right, which apparently is his weaker foot. You wouldn't believe it because he's absolutely nailed that into the bottom corner.
So somebody said on Twitter, I think, I can't remember the name of the person, I'm sorry about that, but it's extremely unusual that a 19-year-old is doubled up on or tripled up on every time they get the ball in the box. It just doesn't happen. But the reason Mason Greenwood scored so few goals in the Premier League this season is because every time he gets the ball in the box, he's doubled up and tripled up on. And as soon as United got him the ball in space, he provided an absolutely pin-perfect assist for Edinson Cavani, and the next time they got him the ball in space in the box, he scored a goal that was so good that Lloris was beaten at his near post, and you wouldn't have an ounce of criticism for Lloris because it literally got past him quicker than you could have hoped to react to it at your near post. That kid is absolutely incredible.
Oh no, he really is. I mean, it's be interesting. I mean, he's talked a little bit about it. He thinks his game has developed. He's obviously not got anywhere near as many goals this season as he did last season, and he had a quiet start to the season. I think he's coming stronger in the second half of the season. Obviously, goals, kind of highlight that, and he's got a couple recently, and I think it's important for him to get into those positions and to not just stay wide and to drive inside and provide those goals for United. But, the wider point I wanted to make is if Cavani is going, what happens with Mason? Are they going to put money into a striker? They're sure as hell not going to spend 120 million euros on Haaland plus all the agents' fees. I just cannot see that happening. So do they give Mason a shot at challenging Martial for the number 9 position next season and spend money on someone to play on the right wing? I mean, that might make a lot of sense. Where is Mason's future? I'm sure he'd like to play down the middle. In this kind of formation, it probably doesn't matter. But could he be United's number 9? With all the development that's happened in his game this season, he might well be a far more rounded number 9 next season than he has been in the past.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it does feel like United really benefit when their number 9 plays very number 9-y. And in the way that Cavani does, he's had a mixed season, Cavani, but when he's on it and playing that very kind of striker-y role, United's other kind of forward players seem to really benefit from that. And actually Martial too, as difficult a season he's had, the few games where he's played well, not necessarily in front of goal, but the link-up stuff and the little interplay stuff, it's been a big factor. And you wonder about Greenwood's physicality, for example. He's not the biggest, sure, is he? And you wonder whether the dream would be for Greenwood at 4-4-2 with Kane or Haaland, that would be, then you really want him playing in the kind of role that Van Persie got to play in with Henry for periods of his career, and
Sure, yeah, and I think Mason is excellent just dropping 5 yards deeper. I mean, you're totally right. It's probably his best position because he's just so intelligent on the ball. You mentioned Kane. I did want to have another tangent. And talk about him a lot.
This isn't a tangent. It's Man United against Spurs, and he said he's going to leave Spurs this summer. I feel like this is reasonable.
And of course, there's going to be a lot of talk about United making a bid, and they've been interested before, and you can understand. He's got a lot of assists and a lot of goals this season, but he's not the player he once was. I mean, part of the reason why he's coming deeper is not some tactical genius from Jose. It's because his legs aren't there anymore. They're not what they were. That zip is gone. And for United to spend, 100 million, whatever it was, or anyone to spend 100 million on Kane, knowing that his best years are behind him, I'm sure, and at 28, his physical conditioning is going to be dropping from here. I think that's a real problem. And I do think that there's something in Kane as well, not just the coaching. He knows that he's not sharp. He doesn't play off the shoulder. He comes towards the ball and lets others run for him. And I think United got other players that can do that,
That's the thing.
Haaland's different. Haaland's 100%. I mean, he's a massive unit, of course, but he's fox in the box. Most of his goals are scored about 2 feet away from goal. I'm exaggerating, and he's a brilliant finisher. But he is the kind of player that Oli didn't want in the team because he wants more flexible forwards. I mean, he's Romelu Lukaku, but maybe a little bit better.
Yeah. No, the thing about Kane is I don't think that the lesson from this season is that Kane is finished in the way that it looked like, his numbers were really deteriorating. His numbers have been really good this season in terms of goals and assists. And what seems to have happened is he's actually extremely successfully reinvented himself in exactly the way, essentially, that Alan Shearer did at the back end of his career, where, Shearer really did start to drop deep and link up play more and still scored tons and tons of goals because he was Alan Shearer. And, The thing about not signing Kane is isn't so much that he's bad; it's that he's not what we need. Because
sure, and that's kind of the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
United have got other players of that ilk if that's what Kane has become. So anyway, I think it's all moot because the finances aren't there at United to do the kind of mega deal. So. If I'm predicting what will happen, I think Kane will sign a new contract at Spurs because that's his most sensible move because I don't think there's going to be a big market for him or anyone, honestly. And then we'll see what happens to United forwards. They should really push Cavani to sign again. I know it's been mixed from him, but to lose that kind of presence and that option would mean we'd have to fill it with something. It wouldn't have to be the same. It could be moving Mason into that forward and buying someone on the right side. Maybe Dortmund would be more willing to sell Sancho because he's had that kind of mixed season with some injuries and stuff. So who knows?
The thing about Cavani is, it's been mixed But and I know it's kind of it could just be performative because you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But to quote the great cricketer, it looks good. Like they say in cricket, like about the right kind of runs. Cavani's hasn't scored that many goals, but in the right kind of goals. That there's something about his vibe. The players seem to really love him. He does a lot of vamos when when we score. Like there was that one, was it a Bruno goal where he just celebrated by jumping in the air and clenching both of his fists? Like he seems really in it, and that energy has to be good for this team that, maybe it's no coincidence. That's one of the reasons we keep going behind. And I know he hasn't been involved in all of those, but there's been a few memorable moments where Cavani's been heavily involved in some of those comebacks.
For sure. I mean, talking about energy, he's got massive big dick energy. Massive big. I'm not saying his dick's massive. I'm just saying he's got massive big dick energy.
Sure, they're not the same. It's been well established.
Yeah, he's got presence, and it does count for something. And United are spending a phenomenal amount of money on this guy, and probably the numbers don't justify it. But there's, if they have room in the wage budget, it makes a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. Made pretty good sense, and it'd make a lot of sense now to keep him. But we'll see. Still, I'm going to remember that header for a long time because that was a sweet moment. Love a diving header.
I mean, it was just fun. It was just fantastic. And let's now come to the main event, which is that José Mourinho is washed and finished and can't even hold a spluttering Man United at bay. Now, I actually don't think, sadly, that all the well-worn, very delightful tropes that have dominated this season's Patreon content about Mourinho's side taking the lead and then capitulating, even though that is literally what happened, happily, I don't really think this applies because I don't think it was a problem with the way Tottenham set up or their intent or anything like that. I actually just think United really turned it on. Particularly Shaw, Pogba, Greenwood, those couple of moments from Fred and Rashford, and Cavani. And that combination set that game alight, basically.
Look, United were excellent, really excellent in that second half. Obviously, the 3 goals kind of gives it the recency bias, but I just think they really took the game by the scruff of its neck,
totally,
dominated that game, and this Mourinho Spurs side has all the hallmarks of Mourinho. We've talked about it on the Backers content a lot. Patreon.com/NQAT. If you want to go through the extensive library of Mourinho hatecast there. There's a lot.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hallmarks about how he wants to set. He sets up with the double pivot. He has quite a conservative back. Even with Serge Aurier and Reguilon in there, who are 2 fullbacks who really want to get forward, they don't at the same time. Kane dropping deep and runners from midfield. I mean, it feels like a Mourinho side, but this was not one where they got the goal and they tried to sit back. They were already being dominated by the time they got the goal, as you say, and United just responded phenomenally. And all praise to this team, which is very schizophrenic. It's still hard to know what performance we're going to get, even though there's 26 games away from home that United haven't been beaten this season. There's schizophrenia within the game today. And from performance to performance. But this was really excellent. It should give everyone an awful lot of confidence for the games to come. Granada's that's done on Thursday. It would be a major surprise and disaster for United not to get through there. And then what? 7 league games to go. We're looking at 80 points. Maybe they can even beat 81, which Mourinho got in his one good season for United, which, friend of the pod, Duncan Castles, reminds everyone on his podcast 15 times a show and on Twitter. He's got this hate thread about Solskjaer going at the moment, which is amusing because it's completely out of context. Anyway, I'd like it. It'd be sweet.
That wasn't even his good season, by the way. his good season was the one before where we won the Europa League and the League Cup. Like the season we had 81 points, just won a few games 4-0 at the beginning of the season, then we're rubbish. But before we move on from the game altogether, it's been a good game when we're like nearly 40 minutes into the show before the letters XG get mentioned. But I think it is worth a little chat. So 2.1 to United to a paltry 0.9 to Spurs. Almost all of Spurs is coming from pot shots around the box, apart from their goal was a 0.4 chance. But let's play Guess the XG. I'd like to quiz you. What do you think that XG would suggest Fred's chance was?
Probably high 60s because it's so near to goal.
I would have guessed higher, but it is indeed, that's pretty good, 0.64. You're good at Guess the XG. The one massive United chance, and this is why actually this number is completely ridiculous, because there's a 0.76 chance, which was the Pogba one, which we had a little discussion about. I had a big chat about it with people on Twitter, luminaries of the game weighing in on that one. Michael Cox tweeted me. It was a phenomenal ball, I think, from Shaw to Bruno. And Bruno kind of scuffed his pass into Pogba, who attempted a back heel behind his back. And I think he only attempted that because the pass was behind him. Neville saying he should have gone for a simpler one. I think you were in the Brexit camp on that one, Ed.
Oh, wow. Wow. No, I don't think there's a dark side and a light side to this debate.
Oh, okay,
I mean, my thought was that Pogba reacted a little late, and if he'd been a bit quicker, he'd have swiveled and hit it on the volley probably. And he's not expecting it, and maybe it's because of the bad pass, or at least the pass that's not in front of him. It's sort of square to him, he's probably gone to be a bit clever. I mean, we could be generous and say he had no other options, but I don't know about that. Anyway, that one will go down as a really high XG. I think you mentioned what it was.
Yeah, 0.76.
0.76, because it was so close. But the post-shot XG will be significantly lower than that.
Yeah, although it required Dyer to clear it, because it was goal-bound. But yeah, Dyer did reasonably well. But anyway, it didn't matter, which was the key thing, because Mourinho drools and Ole Solskjaer rules. I mean, something like that.
You're going with the Mourinho's going senile spin on this, are you?
No, not at all. No. You describing mixed form as schizophrenia is probably troubling enough for one day's worth of mental health challenge conversation.
As I mentioned on our WhatsApp and on Twitter, Mourinho and his impact on society, or brackets football. I'm not sure there is a Mourinho civilization. Who'd have him?
Well, lots of people. He has got. That's the whole problem. My whole problem with Mourinho is the Mourinho civilization. I don't even particularly personally dislike him. That's the tremendous irony of all of this. As a friend of mine once said, I think I might have mentioned this on the show before, I've only ever spoken to him once and he was very nice to me. So this is terrible. I find him as troubling as I do. But anyway,
No, I'm all here for it. Because you're overly nice in real life. You need to hate someone. It's good for you. Look, you haven't got balance. You need to hate someone with a passion. You hate Mourinho. I think it's good for you.
Well, I respectfully disagree on both those counts. But yes, there are people in the world that I intensely dislike. They tend to be involved in public policy in one way or another. Which even Mourinho's worst crimes can't touch the sides of the
Yet. I mean,
it's only a matter of time before he gets elected.
I don't know where he goes after this, because Spurs have some big decisions to make because they're not progressing as a club with him in charge, and there's been a lot of talk about they can't afford to sack him. Maybe not. Maybe they can.
This week,
I don't know where he goes, because what top team would? You've got so much evidence now of the absolute cancer that he is on a club when things aren't going absolutely perfect for him, and it's just like, who would have him? Even Portugal, who, like, as a national team, I mean, we'll see what happens in the summer and whether they make a change there. But would they? Maybe a tournament football would suit Mourinho.
Absolutely. And they've had Fernando Santos for the best moments of their lives as
True. He's a mini
football
Mourinho,
team.
so.
Yeah, he's worse, in terms of attacking intent, So it's not like there's a kind of national craving to play really exciting football.
Right. Or Mourinho goes off and coaches in Qatar or something like that,
But I think there's two things. So one, you mentioned about Spurs not being able to afford to sack him, and lots of talk this week about the old Champions League break clause. And we are, we're not anywhere near really them not being able to mathematically qualify for the Champions League. But we did a lot of chat about Champions League likelihood and qualification, and basically completely wrote off West Ham, who beat Leicester today in a massive kind of swing in terms of that race.
Right.
But Tottenham are currently 7th. So not only are they 5 points off, that isn't even really the problem. The points, it's not 5 either, it's 6. So they're 6 points off 4th, but the problem is that there's 2 teams between them and 4th, both of whom are likely to pick up a lot of points between now and the end of the season, because that's Chelsea and Liverpool.
Yeah, and West Ham. I mean, you need 2 of those teams to drop 7 points in 7 games, and it just, the odds don't look good. I mean, I don't know what the 538 model says, but it's going to be low single digits for Tottenham making the Champions League, I think, because of all that. So yeah, we'll see if there is a break clause, and maybe that'll be done for Mourinho, and we can get him out of our football for good. And with Wilder gone and Allardyce probably gone as well.
But that's actually exactly what I was just going to say, which is, you say, where will he go next? Because there's so much evidence. I mean, Daniel Levy had all the evidence he needed, and he appointed Mourinho anyway, because there'll always be someone that's looking for that stardust. Now, maybe you could say that number shrinks and shrinks as his career progresses, but snake oil salesmen have been selling snake oil for a really long time, and he's a charming man, and he knows how to turn it on for a brief period of time at the beginning of his career at a club. And you could easily imagine some chairman being swung by, like, it was a terrible decision for Ed Woodward to give him the job. Remember Ken Early's of the Second Captains podcast saying to Gary Neville on stage, Mourinho's the sort of person you would think is a good idea at United if you don't know anything about football.
Well, exactly, yeah. Ken Early, who's succinct in 10,000 words or 6 of them. And, excellent broadcaster and journalist. Look, you're right. There will be someone, I guess. But if you're one of the top Europe's leading clubs, one of the ECA breakaway lot. Who?
Yeah.
It's not going to be City.
Inter.
Would Inter go back in for him? I mean, they probably would. Conte may well go. Conte looks like he's going to win Serie A. They're in excellent position, Inter, but Conte could start a fight in an empty room. He would set his own house on fire while he was in the empty room, just because. I mean, he's more conflict oriented than Mourinho, so maybe they'll go to Mourinho as a bit of respite. But
not even immediately, not like at the end of this season either. But if I had to guess where Jose Mourinho's next club would be, that's the club I'd be guessing. We had a lot of chat this week about how the Patreon content was going to come to the main show, and indeed that is what's happened. So it does feel only appropriate to talk about the 538 numbers, because we have reached a seminal moment in the season. You are absolutely right. 6% they're giving Tottenham. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this is a probabilistic model of where teams will finish. We've hit the big time, Ed. Greater than 99% chance of Manchester United making the Champions League this season. Not only a 97%. We're going all the way, lads. We're on a European tour.
Oh, yeah. And with fans back soon. I mean, fans may well be in Old Trafford before the end of the season. It might only be one game. But yeah, United back in the Champions League next season, and with fans, and it's progressing. Ollie has his faults. We talk about it all the time here.
Yep.
In-game management being one of the biggest ones. Apparent lack of any kind of tactical nous being quite, important too. But as someone who understands footballers and can, create an environment for what they need, he's done that. he's, this squad is together and they are moving forward and they're mentally strong. And, friend of the show, and Andrew Yaxley, who's my near neighbour these days in the Pacific Northwest, asked to send me a text, how and why are United so good from coming from behind. And I think a lot of it is about Solskjaer's ability to build belief into this team.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a huge part of being a football manager. Now, we have a big problem, but the sport has a big problem with other teams competing with the nation state backed wealth of the elite. And the fact that City have used that nation state backed wealth to put in a really sane structure and an insane but brilliant manager and, all of these kinds of things. This is a big problem. But City will have bad seasons. They almost had one this season, and then they kind of have sort of slogged their way to coming good, although they did lose this weekend, of course. This summer, the recruitment job doesn't have to be the scale of the one last summer. I think they need to prioritise the three positions, right? I think this is, I can't believe we're having transfer chat, but, this is in terms of Ole in the future. Centre-back, central defensive midfielder, right forward who can play on the right-hand side. It can't be impossible to get two out of the three of those this summer.
Oh, no, they should do. And they should have targets for all of them. And John Murtagh, it will be on the hook, along with Matt Judge, head of football negotiations, to make it happen. And Murtagh and his team for identifying with Ole and Matt Judge to do the negotiations. But the big one is for the sign-off to come from Tampa and to say, yes, we're going to spend the money. Now, the Glazer family and the kids and the six of them who are on the board and who own shares, could have said, well, UEFA have given a pass. I mean, they've basically literally given up on FFP, but, they've basically said all your losses can be written off with equity. United could have released equity to the market and put the money into the club to say, we're going to take advantage of this situation. We're going to prey on clubs in poor financial situations like, I don't know, say Borussia Dortmund, who've got some horrible financial results at the moment, and go and get our players that we want for something of a discount. And we're going to really bolster this squad and push forward aggressively, because that's going to be good for our brand. It's going to be good for the club. It's going to win trophies. We're going to build the value of this club, and that's eventually going to come back to us. They could have made that decision. Instead, they released equity to take personal money, right? Or at least Avram has. And the others have done it before. And so that's a decision they made to not push the club forward. And then to say, well, we've got these huge losses, we can't afford to make big purchases, which is basically what they said last summer, not much spent and looking at the fringes of the market rather than right at the top of the market. And just don't forget that when the spin comes this summer, they can do this. There's a lot of equity there to be released in this club, which they can give to the club to push it forward under the rules. They're choosing not to. And I think it will be a moderate summer. Now, to come back to your point, central defence, yes, left-sided for passing out. You saw actually in the early parts of this game how Tottenham briefly tried to press mistakes out of United's back four, because we've seen it all season. We've seen it all season. As much as the pretense is there that they can pass the ball, they really can't, not at the elite level. Central defensive midfield, absolutely critical, because we're playing a double pivot there and making compromises further forward because we don't have a proper defensive midfielder. Nemanja Matic is done. Fred and McTominay have, I think McTominay is going to have to turn himself into an 8 to be relevant, and Fred, I'm not sure. And then right-sided forward, yes, because Daniel James hasn't progressed. Mason, we'd like to see, him play more centrally, or at least not have to play every week. And it would bolster United's attacking options a lot. The other problem, the wrinkle in all of this, is how much they have to pay De Gea to go, and do they need a backup keeper? And because they can't keep him on the bench all next season. And what happens with Pogba? 1 year left on his contract. Are they going to try and eke out some money this summer? Or are they just going to hold him and lose all the value when he leaves on a free in 2022?
If Pogba goes, all bets are off. It's a completely different conversation. I hope they move heaven and earth to keep him. I hope they write off getting any money out of him to keep him for another year, because there's no way he's downing tools for a year. I wouldn't have thought, especially. I mean, not that this really matters, but especially in I was going to say a World Cup season, but a season with a World Cup in the middle of it. So he definitely won't down tools until November. Anyway.
No, it's injuries. I mean, I never believe he's down tools anyway. I mean, I think, no. He wants something out of the club, which only now you can see the kind of inklings that might happen. He expects to be playing with elite players at the very elite of the game, not playing in the Europa League, and we can have an argument about whether his performances have justified that belief, but that's what he believes, right? And that's why he's frustrated.
Yeah, and when he's playing well, anyone that's arguing the other side of that is out of their tree, because it's like, when he's playing well, he's United's best player by a mile, definitely including Bruno Fernandes, definitely.
I mean, he was absolute peak Pogba today. He's fantastic
in
that midfield, and a very big reason United were so dominant. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, he will shape the narrative for this summer, for sure.
Well, one thing that we can be absolutely delighted about is that the narrative has been really, really nicely shaped based on the Mourinho versus Jose, because the Ole versus Jose stuff, because that could have gone real wrong real fast for some of us, but it didn't. So thank you to the good people of Manchester United Football Club for their fine work today. It's much appreciated. We see you, we love you. Thank you. You're great people. We see you. We love you. Anyway, sorry. We'll take a quick break and then talk about some Europa League stuff, shall we?
All right, let's do it. Quick mid-pod break at 58 minutes in. Yeah. Nice.
It had to be a long show today, right? It just had to be, although that's assuming that we have anything meaningful to say about the Europa League. I thought we could talk a little bit about that game against Granada and
sure.
And a bit of preview stuff about that, and then Burnley at home next weekend that I totally looked up halfway through this game to see what that game was. So the Granada game was a frustrating affair. Could definitely have gone differently result-wise than it did. Granada perhaps feel a little unlucky in terms of their performance with the ball. But I think poetic and moral justice was served, because that was a tough watch. They made it a tough watch. Lots and lots of fouls from them and loads of yellow cards earned by big dives and screams and all that sort of stuff.
It was really frustrating, and it kind of harks back to some of those early 90s European games when United were having trouble in Europe with teams doing that to them. But Granada did what they had to do for a club with limited resources and some decent players, but not elite players. Is they put 11 ratters out there, and they tried to bother United with a lot of tackles, a lot of cynical fouls, giving United no time on the ball, and a lot of diving, rolling around, and holding faces, which we of course saw today. Not forgetting you, Humming song. That's what they had to do. United nearly, could have caved into that pressure, but enough quality in the end to come out 2-0. And that, that final goal, the second goal, makes a big difference to what the tie looks like now, because you can't see that Granada side opening up United 3 times at Old Trafford, even though there are a lot of, Victor Lindelof suspended, Luke Shaw suspended, so Tellez will come in. If Bailly's fit, fit, he plays. If not, is Axel Tuanzebe fit?
I think
if
he
not,
is.
Nemanja Matic plays in the back four. It's
I think Pogba's suspended too. And because I just remember thinking that as a lot of our best players suspended for this game in a way that's slightly worrying. I was just got the who scored page up for that game, and just the first comment on who scored: does anyone know where I can buy a hitman? This ref needs to get cleaned.
No, that's a joke, by the way. We're laughing at that as a joke. Don't kill the referee. No, it was really frustrating, the referee, because he was so card happy for United players, and I think it was something like at one stage United had committed 4 fouls with 3 yellow cards, and and Granada were, getting in there and putting the reducers in quite frequently with seemingly little punishment. But, in the end, justice was done. Just about.
And we almost didn't get to see the justice being done because we had a classic of the counter-attacking goal being scored while replays were happening. The panicked cut from the director and the football cliches level line of apologising, and it's a local Spanish director who's responsible for the pictures. Always mention the nationality of the local director, the commentators.
Yeah, but the thing is, as friends of the pod will know, I relocated. It didn't have. I was listening to people on Twitter going, we missed the goal. I didn't get that cut. I didn't miss the goal.
Oh, really? So you saw the whole build-up, the pass from Lindelof and everything?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you got the international feed, clearly.
It's like, I don't think that was a local director. I think that's on you. Who was it on? BT Sport?
Oh, no. Well, unless they're straight up lying, they said they don't have control of the pictures and they were commentating on it from the studio back home. So I'm sure they don't have a director mixing the pictures on the fly from London. That would be insane. The pass from Lindelof is absolutely fantastic, and the take and finish from Rashford were kind of worldy. What did you think of the penalty where he kind of just nudged? But I mean, Ole. This is where I do like Ole. It doesn't happen that often that I really enjoy an Ole post-match interview, but I kind of like him saying, "Oh, he did really well to score that penalty where he could only see out of one eye." It kind of clipped him, didn't he?
It's a foul and a penalty. If one of those ones that you feel frustrated about on the other end of it because it's on the soft side. But Bruno scored it. Completely changed the second tie. With that 90th minute goal completely. And I think it allows us to get away with some of these suspensions. So I think it's Lindelof and Shaw. You said Pogba as well.
I think so. I don't know though.
Yeah. Yeah, he did get booked really early in that game. So, I mean, Van der Beek, I assume, will play. I mean, Bruno really needs the rest. So, I mean, it would be nice, and I don't think it's too risky. If Wan-Bissaka's fit, so it's De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire will play because he plays every minute. And if Bailly's fit, Bailly plays alongside Tellez, McFred, I guess, in midfield. Does Matic come in? Maybe. And then Van der Beek's got to play. Greenwood. Who else is available? Would Diallo? Would he? Would he start?
He's not Diallo.
He's not going to start. He's going to start Ahmed. But that does mean that it's we're stretching the squad and we're going to play a lot of players who could do the rest. Probably You're probably right actually. At Bruno and Rashford start just because there's not enough players, but they could really do the rest.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Van der Beek, and just keep forgetting he exists. We've really reached that stage with him that, he what was the game where he came on late and did a lot of good work to help United get a goal? He did some good, was that last week? He did some good movement in the box for that last minute goal. I can't even remember what game that was in. They all merged into one, but it wasn't the Granada one, so it must have been the one before that. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that game. We've got to be reasonably confident. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Man United win in that one.
Sure, why not? Yeah. Or maybe it'll just be really flat and United will play out a 0-0. So it doesn't really matter as long as there's not a major disaster. One prediction, I think we might have 3 goalkeepers on the bench because with the suspensions and the COVID bubbles, there's not a lot. I mean, Anthony Elanga was on the bench for the last game. We may well see him. Maybe Shola Shotire if he's fit. He's had a few injuries. He's not had an awesome season, really, in the under-23s. But, we've seen a bit of him. Ahmed, I'm sure, will be on the bench. And then we're probably going to get Henderson, Grant and another keeper on the bench because there's just no one available. It's
funny because we didn't talk about that when we were talking about sort of future and stuff, but there are, hey, guess what? There's a crop of really technically adroit forwards being brought through the academy. Who will probably, at least one of them will end up pushing for a first team spot. I don't know.
Yeah, and who knows? But yes, there's plenty of talent in that under-23 pool, because of the way the bubbles worked and because the under-18s are really young at the moment as a pool. It's we haven't seen as many making the first team this year. A couple of sightings of Shatire. Diallo obviously came in for a lot of money. We expect big things of him next season after this bedding in period, I guess. But yeah, there's talent there.
And none of them are going to play against Burnley next weekend. I guess a meaningful preview of this game is irrelevant until we see what happens in the Europa League in terms of selection. And, if Bruno and Rashford have to play 60 minutes of that Granada game, they are going to be they're dead on their feet already. Burnley at home, which is not where you want to play them because Turf Moor, not a tough place to go. Having Burnley at Old Trafford, bad. They keep doing bad things to us there.
And you know what the pattern of the game will be? United will have 60% possession in this game, probably 20-odd shots. And it's, the big thing will be whether those 20-odd shots are pot shots from outside, because we're completely frustrated with Burnley's organisation at the back and attempt to break, and that's how it's going to go. And it's in previous seasons, you might have worried that this is looking like a Burnley 1-0 victory, isn't it? Coming up, but I don't know. I mean, they've got enough points that they're probably safe. Burnley, there's a softness to them as well. They have conceded quite a few goals this season. Burnley, deep into the negative on the goal difference. And United have got to push forward. I mean, Champions League is almost certainly confirmed, but not completely.
Well,
and push as far as Solskjaer, he gives mixed messages all the time about is it important to win cups or is it not important to win cups? It depends on where he is in his stage of development. But he was delighted with third last season. United really should push to be the best of the rest. Yeah, or maybe there's going to be a blow up at City, and they're going to lose another 3 games, and we're going to be title winners. It could happen, lads.
The run that we're on since that City game, just in the Premier League, goes, well, we beat City, then we beat West Ham, then we beat Brighton, then we beat Spurs. We lost that FA Cup game, but we also progressed through a round of the Europa League and are 2-0 up in the next round of the Europa League as well. We're on, after a really horrible, bumpy bit, we're on a hell of a good run of results. Last week, that Brighton game, which was the one where Van der Beek made a difference for the winner, felt really, really, really flat. It was hard. It was a struggle to watch. So it's really nice to have a fantastic performance. And they lived up to, it's the best we've seen them play since that City game, isn't it? And I think we mentioned on the show last week, it was definitely possible that they would turn that on at some point. And what a fantastic 45 minutes of football. Just so much fun. So enjoyable and awesome. So well done, Man United. And I'm going to predict that they beat Burnley 2-1, and that one's a little bit tougher to watch.
I think it's going to be an unpleasant game, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory for United.
What's your prediction of the Granada game?
0-0.
Okay, great.
Dead rubber. No one cares.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Patreon backers, we are still doing, even though this was basically a Patreon episode, we are going to still talk about now mostly just Jesse Lingard for the next half an hour. By
the way, transfer talk, I mean, he's going to factor into United's summer because they're going to try and get as much money as possible. I mean, he's only got 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah.
After this, that is the one-way extension that everyone moaned about, including me, when it was done earlier in the season. But now it looks like Ed Woodward's getting value out of his asset. But he will factor how much money can United get for Lingard because, I think that's a relationship that needs to end. He's flourished elsewhere and that's good for him. Great for him.
Jesse will give them Jesse for Rice plus 25 million. All right, we'll be back in just a minute for Patreon backers, and everyone else will be back next weekend or next Monday, I guess, to wrap up Granada and Burnley. Take care till then.
Awesome. Bye now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.